It's Sunday night. It's 8 o'clock. Welcome to All Lacrosse Live. I'm Gary Groob in Toronto. With me as always. Hey, the band's back together again today, guys. I got Shawn Slaght, fresh off his little vacation over in Moose Jaw. How you doing, Shawn?
Doing pretty good. Thanks, Gary.
Great. And I got Muffler Mike over in Connecticut. Mike, how's it going?
Doing good.
Great. We got a great show for you tonight. I've got Rich Kilgour with us. We're going to talk a little bit about three-peating with Six Nations. Probably talking a little bit more about three-peating with Buffalo as well a whole lot of other topics. In the second part of the show, fresh off his lax class rant, with Jake Elliott's permission, I have clips of Jamie Dawick going off with Jake, and we're going to discuss some of the stuff that Jamie had talked about on the owner's side of things. So you're not going to want to miss any of that. Stick with us. But just before we get rolling, a reminder to everybody that all of our episodes are streamed live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, also on Instagram Live. Remember to hit the subscribe, follow, and like buttons. Always share. Please follow some of the or all of the shows along the Streampunk Entertainment Network, like Fly Like an Eagle, like some of the boxing shows, the CFL shows, the soccer shows, Streampunk Combat, as well as Streampunk Cinema. If you've missed a show, no worries. You can grab all the shows on YouTube, whether you be at Streampunk Cinema, Streampunk Combat, Streampunk Sports, or All Across All the Time. And if you come on to All Across All the Time, of course, please subscribe there. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everybody about us. We've got retro games, interviews, library of shows, as well as so much more. Remember, you can stay up to date with all sports by visiting streampunkentertainment.com with great articles from our huge staff of contributors. Also, a reminder that our show is brought to you by 60. 60 is Canada's newest and most exciting sports uniform and teamwear brand, delivering top quality uniforms and teamwear that reflects the spirit and identity of each team. Their commitment to innovation and excellence sets them apart, ensuring that every customer experiences the perfect blend of style and functionality. Unleash your greatness with 60. Also add Lax Talk 10 for a 10% discount on your order. How do you get to them? First off, you can use the QR code that is in the center of our screen, or you can go to them on Instagram at sweet_60. You can email them at info.sweet60@gmail.com, or go directly to their website at www.sweet60.ca/60. Well, some players wore the jersey, others were a heartbeat of the franchise. Rich Kilgour was a leader, a warrior, a man who played the game with grit and heart. From championship runs with the Bandits to guiding the next generation behind the bench, Rich's legacy is written in every corner of Western New York lacrosse. Let's welcome Rich to our show. Hey, Rich, great to have you with us again.
Oh, thanks for having me, Gary.
Oh, internet already struck Gary again.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gary's internet doesn't like them sometimes.
It's a running joke at this point, Rich. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta love it, don't you? Yeah. I own second base of Rogers Center by now, with all the money I put into Rogers with my, wonderful internet and everything. But apparently they want more. They're holding out for more. But as I was trying to say, it's an annual event now where we bring you on to talk about yet another championship for Six Nations. And, this is a great time to talk about it. Congratulations on three-peating. What a great group this was this time around. We talked about it at Man Cup over in the middle of the summer, how it's such a great group that sometimes they need a little bit of a wake-up call because they're playing, 15 or 20 minutes of a game, scoring 7 or 8 goals in that 15, 20 minutes and running away with the game. But sometimes they just have to be there long enough that, to play the full 60. Let's talk about Yeah, go ahead.
Even back in the day, me and JT and Dewey talk about it a lot. Our teams were kind of the same way. We'd come out and dominate early and kind of get it over with. That was our mantra. Let's go out there and just play as hard as we can, as long as we have to. Where I think like these guys, same like you were saying, they kind of get a little, we'll turn it on when we have to, and New West made us, turn it on and leave it on there. That was one heck of a series. And, everyone, you guys are just signing a big all-star team. But you can have all the all-stars you want. If they don't buy in and be a team, then it just don't work out. So it was a great summer. And like you said, it's so many guys that, Dewey doesn't just go for the top 10 scorers in the league. He gets a lot of captains, assistant captains, guys who are leader on their, other teams. So when they come here, it's great. They all buy in, and JT just the maestro back there running the show, and forever. It's you can sign all the big players you want. I'm sure there's a lot of teams who've tried to buy man cups, but if you don't get the right players, then you can't buy them. So, and like I said, we had a bunch of characters with character, and they they got it done. 7 games, but we still got it done.
It's funny. I had Chase Fraser on my other show on Thursday, and we're talking about, what makes the Bandits so special. And I think the same thing goes for what makes Six Nations so special is it's more than just a bunch of players getting together. It's almost like a bunch of brothers that get together and just have that care and consideration for each other, because there's only one ball. That's why a lot of these teams don't work, is because there's only one ball and superstars everywhere, and everybody wants to do their own thing. Everybody bought into the program. Everybody did whatever it took. You got Dane coming out of the back door. You've got, other guys that are playing transition rules when normally they'd be the guy, and everybody bought in. And you have somebody like yourself and JT that are leaders by example, because you guys have played it, won it, and also know how to hone in all of that machismo, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it helps. Like I said, we were on a couple of maybe what you call super teams back in the day, but with JT, he was always the hardest worker, no matter what team we're on. And it's kind of embarrassing for me to say that, but that guy just at practice, at games, at anything, loose balls, defense, whatever it was, he was the hardest worker on the floor. And when your best player is the hardest worker, everyone better buy in, or you're going to look pretty bad when you're standing next to him. So, and then, like you said, look at our right side, Dane Smith, Ryan Smith, Randy Stotts and Lyle Thompson. Like, oh, holy cow, that is a great right side. Yep. But like you said, there's only one ball. So, some guys have to change a little bit, set some picks, and do whatever the team needs. And that's what I think we're JT. Like you said, the guys respect him so much. He's probably the greatest of all time, and then he did it, won at every level, and now he's doing it as a coach. So if the guys don't respect him, I don't know who the heck they're going to respect. And then, you got Dewey back there, too, who's just well respected by, not only the native guys. Anyone who comes in there who gets to know Dewey knows he's a great guy, great evaluator of talent. Mm-hmm. And, you get those two together and that amount of talent, and they get them to buy in. And, man, it's we're a tough out, Six Nations. We're going to be a tough out for a while here. So it's a lot of fun to be a part of it. And like I always tell JT, I just hope I'm doing my part.
Right. I think you are. I think you are.
Yeah.
We talked in the summer at Fan Cup, and one of the biggest surprises for you, even though you knew he was an all-star, was Ryan Smith. You're talking about a guy who can get on a team with this and still be able to score 3 or 4 goals every single game without fail. And the goals are just incredible from in close. Great shot, and will pay the price regardless. Talk about, the guys like that, the unsung, so to speak, guys, as opposed to, we have Dane, we have Josh, we have Lyle, we have all the guys that everybody's familiar with, but some of the other guys who you didn't expect to be such a big, Ian McKay comes to mind also, who really came into his own.
Well, like you said, especially Ryan Smith, right? Like you said, he scores 3 or 4 a game, but I bet you he gets Dane 3 or 4 a game. He sets pick. The guy's, I think, 6'2". And it was funny, we were talking in the lobby of the Man Cup. I'm like, how much do you weigh? And he's like, 245. I'm like, oh, my Lord. Like, that's a punch bug running at you.
Yeah.
That guy sets a pick on you, you're going to know about it. So, and he sets great picks for other players, and he gets all those goals within the just normal run of the offense. It's not like we're running ISOs for him or every play's run for Ryan Smith. I bet you we didn't run one play for him all year, and he still led the team in goals. And like you said, those are the guys. McKay, just where do you want me? Back door, front door, man short, loose ball, and he can do it all at a high level. Brandon Bombery running around setting picks and, just doing everything, all the little things that go, kind of unnoticed. You guys notice it, lacrosse, but, some of the ordinary fans don't really notice Brandon Bombery out there.
Right.
And then, like you say, you look at our defense and Mitch, we always call him Marinara. I can never say his name right. Mornier. But he, he comes in late and just a big body. And that's what I, as a D coach, I love him. He's unpickable. Like he just runs over any pick that comes at him.
Yeah.
And, just guys like that. And then we got guys who get up and down the floor like Tyson Bell. And, and then we pick up Kostiuk at the end. Holy cow, another guy where, he's a great player, but then to see him up close, it just gives you a whole different perspective on how really great he is. So, and again, you just get them all there and get them to buy in. And, it's also tough. Like me and JT, do we talk about it? We got to sit 5 guys at the Man Cup every night. And, go ahead and look down that list. Tell me which 5 you would sit. It's a really tough job position to be in because everyone is good enough to play. And you just hope you make the right choice. And, we don't always make the right choice, but, we got a pretty good read on it. And with us 3 talking it through, we usually, knock on wood, we usually come up with the right lineup.
Right. Now, let's talk a bit more about the Man Cup because, it took everybody off guard when New West got up 2-0. But I don't think that the team was flat by it because there's so much veteran leadership in there that, you guys just kind of shake it off and away you go and, grindstone and away you go.
Yeah, it was really tough how we lost game 1 too, right? We were losing the whole game, battle our way back, take a lead with, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes left, and then they tie it with 1 second left. Yeah. And, hey, these guys might be superstars, but, they can get shook too. And I think we got a little bit shook there. Then we lose the overtime 4-1, and then we were just kind of flat the next night. So I think it got to us a little bit. And then, like you said, that day off, and then we regrouped, and, we came back and laid it on them pretty good in 3 and 4. I think we won by 10 and 7 or 6 or 7. We came out and did really, really well. And then, I think we ran out of a little bit gas, or I think we were a little bit older. They got, maybe a little bit younger legs, and they got to us there again in game 5. So, and again, all the power to them. They played great. And, I'm not going to sit here and say, we played bad or this. And no, they forced us to play the way we played. So I have a lot of respect for that team. And that, like you said, they pushed us all the way to game 7. And, I just, like you said, I had a feeling with that talent and there, how much characters in that room that we were going to have, we was going to go 6 or 7 for sure, even after we lost the first 2. Mm-hmm. And, I got to mention Cody Jamieson, what a leader he is on this team. Like with all the all-stars in there, his word carries a lot of weight. And as a coach, that's what I told him, it's so much easier when you have a captain who can go out there and the guys really respect and listen to. And he says a lot of the stuff, so we don't have to. And again, just a great combination. And I think it was just great for lacrosse, 7-game series. And, everyone's saying we had an all-star team. They had an all-star team too. They get to pick up 4 players. I think they pick up Shiliano. He goes back to Langley at the end of the year. So, they basically did have a Western all-star team. They got to pick up the leading scorer. I think Gash was the leading penalty minute guy. And you know what I mean? They're people not even on their team. I understand picking up the PLL guys. Mm-hmm. But, they everyone can say we're an all-star team. Guess what? They were too.
Let's talk about that a little bit because I was talking actually with Wayne Colley last week about it also, and he's not a big fan of it either, the adding 3 players at the end. I figure you have all year to get a team together. That should be your team. Whether it's in the organization, that's a different thing. But to get somebody from a different team, I hate this idea. I think that the team that you have and the team that you signed is the team that you bring.
Yeah, join the club. I hate it too. Like, I just can't imagine. Like, even if we couldn't, I know we have a really strong team. I don't think we'd pick anyone up. We talked about it a lot. I just don't think we'd do it. How do you tell 3 guys from your team, thanks for the 3 months, but beat it. I'm going to pick up this guy and he's going to get a ring and you're going to sit home and watch. I don't think I could do that to a player after he gave me 3 months of his summer. So again, they're not breaking the rules. They changed the rules so they could do that. So I don't want to accuse them of cheating or anything like that. But like you said, I don't think I'd want to let, some Peterborough or Brooklyn guys in my room for a month or, 2-3 weeks of high level lacrosse and see all the plays and, kind of everything we do how we do it. So like I said, I'm not a fan. I'll leave it at that.
Love it. Now, my other question is, summer ball. I love summer ball. I love it more than I love NLL. I think it is a great gritty game, which you have all the physicality. You have much closer games. The parity is overall a lot better. How the hell do we get more butts in the seats? How do we let the genie out of the bottle and let people know that this is, for a fraction of the cost of an NLL game, you get to see the same players in a much more intense environment and much more accessible?
buddy, if I had the answer for that, I'd be a millionaire right now. It's it's tough because exactly all the things you laid out there. If you go to a Six Nations games, you're basically watching an NLL All-Star team, and you walk in the building for $10 Canadian. So I'm pretty sure you can't get in any NLL buildings for 10 Canadian. You can't even buy a beer for 10 Canadian in the arenas anymore. So I wish I had the answer for that, because it is great lacrosse. Like you said, a little bit tougher, they little bit rougher, let more stuff go on. But again, they took the fighting out pretty much with that. You fight, you're on that game and the next game. So it's not that kind of rough. Just a good mean, like you said, more cross-checking. I think you get away with a little more holds here and there, and it makes it, I think, a lot harder on the offenses to score. So, and I think people appreciate that. They do like the older lacrosse. Again, back when the Bandits started, it was all kinds of chaos out there. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad they reeled it in a little bit, but I think fans do appreciate when guys go out there, play with that, like they care a little bit. And you know what, if you go at someone for 60 minutes with a stick in your hand, you might want to fight someone by the end of the night. And I have no problem with that. You know what I mean? No one's ever died in a lacrosse fight. Mm-hmm. And like they always say, there's only 2 times the entire game everyone stands up: a goal and a fight. So it's people like it. And like I said, if it's a true, honest, not a staged fight, I'm fine if 2 guys go into the corner, someone gets their stick up, and the other guy says, "Not tonight." You know what I mean? Let's figure it out. Absolutely. I think the fans like it too. So I wish that we could bring a little bit of that back to the summer. And I just don't know how to get people to go inside when it's nice out, when you got to stay inside for 3 months a year.
That's true too. What we had talked about last year was that you guys had so much talent that you guys started going back to old school lacrosse anyways and running lines instead of having this transition, especially in this, that, and the other. Did you guys continue that idea through the playoffs this time around?
Yeah, JT, every couple times a game will name, Tyson Bell, Priolo, and Skibbsy, Justin Martin. Mm-hmm. After you guys play that shift of D, you're going up on offense. So, you know what I mean? You hopefully get someone trapped out there, give our O guys maybe couple O guys out there playing defense against them and make it a little bit easier, and just put some pressure on them to hustle to the bench. If you do that for 60 minutes, guess what? Those O guys are going to get tired. You know what I mean? Most teams go 10-8, and if you make those 8 guys run on and off the floor hard every single time, it's going to pay off in the third period. And, that's what our team is really, really good at. You're under pressure for the whole 60 minutes, and that's hard on a team. It's hard to play really well all 60 minutes, and it's hard for us to do it. I know it's, with our talent running at you, it's got to be even harder on the other end of the floor.
Absolutely. Now, again, I'm going to bring us back to the Man Cup, because when you were out there, you guys did I was just so mesmerized with what you guys did at our lunch break with some of the physically challenged kids. I loved it. Talk us a bit about how you got involved with them and what went into putting together that little hour there.
Yeah, it was all through the Fan Cup. You know what I mean? I love lacrosse, and if there's got some free time and there's something going on like the Fan Cup, or helping out those special needs kids, and that was kind of really unplanned. They just had their little practice ready to go, and they asked me and Trav if we want to go out there, and we were both like, hell yeah. You know what I mean? I love spreading lacrosse, and it's just to see those kids be so happy running around out there playing. And it was a lot of fun. It was special for me too, man. It really does reignite your love for the game, and knowing that how many people and, all across the whole spectrum like lacrosse. So to get back even a little bit, you know what I mean? I could never give back enough of what I got out of lacrosse. But, if I keep trying here in little spurts, I think I can give a lot back too.
Right. Now, I want to talk a little bit about loyalty. And you spent your entire career playing for Buffalo, and you were captain for a dozen years, and that's loyalty. Do we still have that going on? I don't think that lacrosse is like hockey, where people just turn their back on a team in a second. I still think that their loyalties are there, especially summer. But are we losing it, or do we still have that here?
I think it's getting there, right? Once you have free agency and, stuff like that, and guys can switch teams a lot easier. When I first came up in major, it was hard to switch a team. You know what I mean? You kind of got drafted and you were stuck there. And, I kind of like that they can move a little bit. But like you said, I still love that. Like you said, I played all 18 years for the Bandits. JT, same thing. And, look at Priolo now. He started there as a 19-year-old. He's got to have been there 17, 18 years now. And, it kind of depends on your geography too, right? It was real easy for me to say no to going to other places because Marine Midland's like 40 minutes from my house. So
Right.
I lucked out a lot in that way. Priolo kind of lucked out. Even JT coming from Mississauga, you know what I mean? That's not that bad of a ride. But, yeah, I think once that free agency gets in there and those guys can, and I do like that they can make more money, and I guess that's what it's all about in the end. But I do like, my 18 against your 18, and you get me this year, guess what? We're probably going to have 15 of the same 18 back. So we'll see you again next year, and let's figure out who's better. But it's, and it makes for better rivalries also. Like back in the day when there was only 4 or 5 teams, man, like we really disliked those other teams. And it was just, the same way. I'm sure they didn't like us either. So,
Right.
But it builds that great rivalry. And like I said, we were playing, all the fans knew we were playing for no money, but, you would think we were playing for $1 million that night. And it just, we just, all we wanted to prove was who was better. And that makes for some entertaining lacrosse.
Right. And that brings me over to a little bit of a crossover because you were part of some of those great Bandit teams of the 90s. The Bandit team that we are watching now, this dynasty that we have now with these 3 championships, is there a comparison in, the styling of the team, the chemistry of the team, the makeup of the team?
Oh, for sure. I mean, look, JT's leading this, the current Bandits. He was part of it back in the day. And I always say, we had some great teachers too, Derek Keenan and Bob Hanley, Brian Hall. Those guys kind of taught us, how to play in the senior league. And then, you just kind of pass it along. And, I think it was also like they have that core of probably about 8, 9 guys that are, been through almost all 5 of those championships because they went to the 2 before they won. Then they won 3 in a row. So they kept a good, strong core together. And, now even a lot of those guys are playing together in the summer, with the Chiefs. So you got Dane, Byrne was there this year, McKay, Priolo. So, those guys are on quite a run. That's, they won the last 3 NLLs, the last 3 Mans. And I think they all got a world championship with Team Canada. Like, I love our run. And, we were, really good in our day. But these guys are doing something, I think, even more special than that.
Yeah, and then you take a look at some of the other players who have done President's Cup things, and the amount of hardware that's in that dressing room now. Year in, year out, you can just be a wheelbarrow and just kind of here we go.
And it's you know what I mean. Somehow some guys are always I remember they used to tease people. Oh, you're chasing the cup, and Darris said that because he won the last 2 minnows and then he won 5 Mans in a row. He said, it's kind of funny that cup seems to follow me. I don't have to chase nothing. So, you get those type of players and, we had, Darris was a real leader. JT was a leader and you get those guys together and the rest of the team kind of falls in line. So they set the tone. And then, if you don't want to buy in or whatever, you can easily be not on that team real quick. So,
yeah.
And that's what I mean. JT does a great job. He did as a player. He wasn't much of a talker, but as a coach, I always bring this up. He's a teacher, so he knows how to get his point across. And like I said, the guys just have to look at him with a respect with all he's done in lacrosse already. And, he's an E.F. Hutton. When he talks, people listen.
Yeah, that's probably the best analogy that I've heard. The E.F. Hutton idea. It's just true because he doesn't yell or scream. He's not one of those guys. But when he talks, everything means something.
Yeah, I mean, even me, like when he's giving pre-game speeches and stuff, I listen. You know what I mean? To this day, the guy is just, he's probably one of my favorite teammates of all time. And just to watch him, he started as an assistant coach in Six Nations, with me. I was head coach in Dewey, and, he took it to a whole nother level, like he always does.
Right. Now, you're known as a player's coach. What exactly does that phrase mean to you?
I think it means like we're not yellers and screamers. I mean, I can get going pretty good in between periods once in a while, but it's never individual, like you know, this or whatever. It's always we. I'm not, and it's always about effort. And you know what I mean with me. And that's what I always tell them. I played. I got beat for goals. I know what it's like to make a mistake or make a tough play or a bad play. And the last thing you want is a coach screaming in your ear after you do that. So. I kind of just try to treat them like I wanted to be treated as a player. And, sometimes you do have to get under someone a little bit, but most of the time, like I said, I keep it more about the team. If I'm going to get upset about something or, what I mean? If it's someone does something, a couple of things bad, I try to pull them aside and talk to them. I'm not here to show anyone up. And I want the players to, know that I'm on their side, but I am kind of the boss, of the defense. And if you make a, bad mistake, I am going to have to say something to you. But like I said, never in a disrespectful way. I hope some players might think a little different, but.
Well, you came up in a different era too, right? So where it was a little bit more brash, a little more in your face. How do you change that around in this era of, I'm not going to say softer, but sometimes a little bit more sensitive era in keeping guys on program?
Oh no, you can say it's softer. It's softer. But back in the day, you made a bad play and you'd see Terry Sanderson standing in the door waiting for you. And he'd hook his one finger right through your face mask and call you a couple things I can't say on this. But, it's a lot different now. And, I think it is for the better. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean. You try and save it up. You don't want to be the yeller all the time because then the guys just tune you out. So when you do kind of, I call it losing my mind every once in a while, I just, I hope they know it's coming from a good spot. And it's just that I want them to be better than they are at that present moment. So. But like you said, it's a little different. You can't be like you said, you can't grab people by the face mask anymore. Or, call them this or that. It's not conducive to getting them to play hard for you. If you do it once in a while, I think they can live with it. But if you're a constant guy like that, believe me, that you're going to lose a team quicker than you know.
Right. Now, if you could go back and you could find rookie Rich Kilgour, what advice would you give him?
Stay in shape. Lay off the beer a little bit. Other than that, I don't think that, my dad did a great job of making me and Darius and Trav be good teammates when we were coming up because, it's not bragging. We were always kind of the best guys on our minor team. And, if we were winning whatever 10-1, my dad would, that's enough. Like, you make your teammates better. You're going to need them at some point down the line. So we never had that. He just always made us be a good teammate, even, what I mean, when we could have. I don't know if I ever told you this story. One time Darius was going for a scoring title in like Pee Wee or something. Mm-hmm. The guy ahead of him, this is the old days. You couldn't check the stats. We just knew that my dad just knew that his team scored 15 goals. So he told Darius, all right, I'm going to allow you to be selfish one game. And he goes, all right. And then Darius went out and he scored 16 goals. So, I mean, he just, he could do that type of stuff, but our dad would never allow it. And, what I mean? Even when we played field lacrosse, we had a team that was weaker, we'd go grab the long sticks and play long stick D. You know what I mean? It wasn't all about just scoring. If you want to be a good teammate, you buy in and let other people have some fun too once in a while. So it was great having my dad, make us be humble and be good teammates because it carried us through our whole career.
Right. What do you think the biggest differences are since you played and are going on now?
I really like they got a lot of the cheap shots out of the game because I know back in the day when I played, I would do it. I'd high stick people. They'd high stick me. It was just, and I never really liked that part of it or the wooden sticks and the big slashes off ball. I'm glad they're getting all that out of there. But like I said, I wish they'd, somehow leave a little bit of the roughness in there. But I think the guys are way more in shape now. They train year round. We played year round. We played year round. We didn't train year round. So these guys are all dead in shape all the time. And I think that just helped the level of lacrosse go up. I also think that it's been 30-some years now. So there are kids, when they're 5 or 6 saying, oh man, I want to be a pro lacrosse player, where there was no pro lacrosse till I was 23. You know what I mean? So it was all that stuff, I think, in combination. And now that's a goal some guys are setting, early in life. And then they work towards it for 10, 15 years. And it raised the quality of play. The quality of play has never been higher. And I think it goes up every year. And I love it. Like, you know what I mean? Some of the older guys, we were tougher. So what? These guys would run circles around you. You know what I mean? So you take it both ways. The skill level is never higher. I think we had more heart back in the day. So I'll call that a fair trade.
Right. Also, guys like Dave Durante would come on here and talk about, it was the fastest game on 2 feet, but now that we have specialization, we're not anymore because now we pull up and stop and wait for the offense to come on. This guy does that. Wayne was talking last week. You get the same 6 or 7 guys who are going to score and the same 8 or 9 guys are going to play on defense, and that never changes. Whereas when everybody was doing everything, you could have you could have mismatches and have other guys scoring where goalies would get 3 or 4 assists in a game, where nowadays if one gets 1, you're going, whoa, take a look at that.
Yeah, no, right. And it's hard when you march out 10 great defensemen or, 5 great defensemen every single shift. You know what I mean? And I know I was sending out 5 great guys, but I'm with him. I would love to see. I wish there was some rule they could make where you had to play both ways. But I mean, it'd just be impossible. But you know what I mean? And I understand why, it switched over. Remember, it all started with Bartley in Toronto because he had 5 great O guys and 7 great D guys, and he figured it out. My O guys can't play D, and my D guys can't play O. So he just, let them stay at their end of the floor. Where, like JT even now, like we try and find those guys who can do both. Like Josh Byrne runs back a lot. McKay runs back a lot. Dane runs back. Lyle, they all. And then we have a bunch of guys on defense who can run up and take an O shift and not really miss too much. So I like getting all-round players more than just a kind of a specialist. But, it is what it is nowadays. You do have to have probably 5 O guys that are just, that's all they're going to do. And you probably need at least 7 D guys. That's all they're going to do. But like I said, I liked it better. And like you watch an old tape from like 92 to 95, and it was up and down. It was back and forth. There were breakaways, big hits all over the place. And now with everyone just switching, every 30 seconds, you don't really get to see any of that, great up and down action anymore.
Right. Now we're at this impasse here with the CBA and all the rest of this stuff that's going on. That really it's kind of hush hush and nobody knows really all the facts. You played in an era where Fritz and Klein owned the damn thing, and it had the teams, and you guys played, kind of like what the PLL's doing. Never had this kind of issue, and then we have individual ownerships now. Now we have all the headaches and all the other things. Also, back when you played, you had all the big arenas. And, you played in all of the great ones, the Boston Gardens and, of course, the Memorial Odd. And we talked about that before and some of the crazy places like the Spectrum and things like that. Whereas now they seem to be going to AHL arenas, which limits what the owners can make, because if you only have 9,000 seat arena or 7,000 seat arena, that's all you can get in there. And that's all you can crank out of your ticket base. Is there something that I'm missing here that with individual ownership that, since you've been in part of both of them, I think you'd be the most qualified to answer that one.
Yeah, and like I said, it's pro sports. You want the guys to make as much as they can, but I also to be honest, I think probably only Buffalo, Colorado, I don't know, maybe 2 other teams even break even. You know what I mean? Like obviously Buffalo's making good money. I'm sure there's a couple other teams, making or breaking even, but I got to say probably half the league is losing money, and I don't know how those things work. You know what I mean? I'm sure the players think the owners are hiding money. The owners think, we're all losing money, so why are we going to pay you more? And it's a tough one. And like you said, back in the day, it was easy for us, 125 a game. There was nothing to fight over. But they, nowadays, these guys are making pretty good bucks. There's, a lot of guys that really just play lacrosse full time right now and don't even have a real job, which is where I wanted to see it get to. But I think they also had to be, like you said, realistic. You're going into 9,000 seat arenas and you want to, get paid, the X amount of money, and it's really not there when 6 teams are losing money. So
right.
I just hope they can get it settled because, Buffalo's on a great run right now. I think lacrosse is in a good spot in the NLL, and this would just, every time this happens, 1 or 2 teams drop out. Yeah. And like when they threaten a strike or something, the owners are just like, hey, I'm losing money anyway, so whatever, I'm out. But, and knock on wood, hopefully, Joe Tsai and these guys with some deep pockets can keep it going, or at least, get this contract figured out and keep these guys playing. Because, I think, you shut down for a year or something, that's going to really, really hurt the lacrosse as a whole.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And we almost lost 3 teams in the last little while. In fact, we lost 1. We've watched a few of them move up north because it's cheaper than trying to get through all the things and use US dollars and things like that. So we're already seeing the fallout from this thing. So I think everybody needs to take a step back and have a look and actually put ourselves in everybody else's shoes. That's the thing, you say 125 a game and that's it. But with Fritz and Klein, though, you never had that problem because they had the league. So
yeah, that's right. We were just basically a monster truck pull for them, right? We were just a way to fill the arena one night. So it was, it is what it was, and they were concert promoters or something, I think. And but like you said, they owned the whole thing. So, and it was laid out ahead of time. We all agreed to the $125. We thought we were ripping them off, And then you know what I mean. And then all of a sudden we're selling out, and it's like, wait a second, I think you guys owe us a little more than 125 a game. So I see it from both sides. Like I said, we were making 125 a game and selling 16,000 tickets. You know what I mean? So that math doesn't work out. But then you also can't have a team drawing 3,000. You know what I mean? And paying the guys 20 grand a person. That math don't work out either. So they got to find that happy medium. And my other thing I always say, I think they should do it like the NFL. Any money that comes in, like not so much ticket revenue, but any sponsorships or anything like that, we divide it up, 8 ways, however many teams are in the league. Let's all get in this together. So, but again, I'm sure, owners don't get rich by giving away money. So I don't know how you solve that problem, but I just really hope they can solve the problem.
Right. Let's talk a bit about the Iroquois team, or the Haudenosaunee team. Sorry, I'm getting behind in myself here. And take a look at the improvement of it with a smaller base to pick from, and they're always there. They're always in the thick of it. They were an eyelash away in the last Worlds from actually making history.
Yes,
let's talk about let's talk those problems. So. Let's talk about the in general, just the talent level that's coming out of the res.
Oh, it's incredible, right? Because it's just such a small pool to draw from. So, and they're almost all in the Northeast. And that's the other thing, I think we talked about last time, that they're actually getting, spreading lacrosse through reservations throughout the U.S. now. So hopefully the, talent pool will get a little bit bigger. But like you said, go up against Canada and U.S. with all their, OLA and, USA with all the field stuff and what their enrollment is for lacrosse. Probably 10, 20 times bigger than the Iroquois. But like you said, second place all the time and a 1/3 place finish. So, and I think it is good, like, Cody Jameson and Lyle Thompson and all the Thompsons. And now all these guys coming from like these different reses from New York State. Now they see, hey, the other kids on those reses see that goal is attainable for, someone from their res. And that gives them that little extra thing to get better and better at it. Now we just have to go in and develop some defensemen. We have, we're always a little bit short on D guys, but our offensive talent is, I'll put Aro up against any O out there. So, like I said, our D's getting way better now too. You got like a Tarbell coming up, and back in the day with Sid Smith and Tyson Bomberry. So we're starting to get some guys that are truly D guys, not just an O guy we throw back on D. And I think if we can find those 7, 8 really good D guys, that'll make a big difference. And, someday we're going to get Canada. I know it someday.
I'm actually thinking 2028 sixes, just the way it's set up, is probably more conducive to the run and gun of Haudenosaunee than it is for a Canada or a U.S. team that has all these other tools in there.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like you said, we got a lot of all-round players. Like I said, Lyle Thompson runs back a lot, and I could go down the list of all the guys, and when you grow up, you play both. So a lot of these guys got it. But like you said, the sixes and just taking the ball out of the net up and down, kind of like a little backyard lacrosse. That's right up the natives' alley. So like you said, knock on wood, hopefully, and have a good showing there. And just for the record, I hate the sixes.
That was my next question.
Like one or the other. You don't try and put box and field together. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't like that. It's a smushing together of two different sports really. And if it gets in the Olympics, I guess if it's going to spread lacrosse, good for that. But I'm not a fan. I'd rather see like box lacrosse go into the Olympics or field lacrosse, either one. And
I'm not sure if I told you the story. I had Bob DeMarco on the show, president of World Lacrosse, and I asked him that question. It's like, why of all the things are we doing sixes? And he explained that in the Olympics with the IOC is they can only have 10,000 altogether in it. Why, I don't know, but that's the agreement, is 10,000, which includes coaches, trainers, the whole 9 yards for every sport. And if lacrosse wants to get in there, you're not going to take a field team of 24 guys and coaches and trainers, and you'll have 3 teams, right? So in order to get lacrosse in there, that they would actually be serious in putting it in, they had to find a way to scale back. Box would be the same thing of having too many people to actually have a competition. So the only thing that they did, they looked at the rugby sevens model, and they asked if there's a way that this can happen. And also with some of the nations, like the African nations, they were not going to have rinks ready to do box. And again, a field, if they made it smaller, maybe when they only had to get 12 players, they could actually do it, that they can be competitive. So I never knew anything about it until he actually explained it to me. And to me, that kind of made sense to get it in, because I figure we can teach tradition once we get people looking at it. Because as a couple of guys from NCAA say, stick ball, and from then on we can teach all about the other things.
Yeah, I mean, if that's their excuse, I mean, either sport is great, you know what I mean? And I don't know, what maybe they could take breakdancing out and let a couple more lacrosse players in, you know what I mean? Like some of the stupid sports they've had at the Olympics, and lacrosse, which has been around, who knows, like a couple hundred years, or even longer than that if you count the natives playing it against each other, you know what I mean? I just don't see how a true traditional sport can't get in there, but yet, like I said, breakdancing was an Olympic sport, I guess. I don't know, but that's just me, and I'm biased towards lacrosse. So, like I said, I
never understood synchronized swimming when there was only one person in the pool. But
synchronized.
That's just me. What can you talk about as a coach for the Haudenosaunee that balances competitiveness, but also not losing the cultural and spiritual importance of representing the Haudenosaunee?
I think it's easy. You know what I mean? Like, you just get, what I try to do is get the point across that, this is our game. We invented it, and treat it with respect. You know what I mean? You show up and, like, again, we're going to go out on this world stage. Make sure you show up in shape and ready to play and do all the things that, got you to this point. And, like I said, just be smart and realize that this is our game. And, you know what I mean? Like, we got to go out there and show everyone that, we still compete at a very, very, and the world level with, a very small talent pool to draw from. So just be honest to the game, be true to the game. And even more importantly, yourself. Like, you want to represent yourself really well, but also your nation. That has to put even a little extra something special on it. You even hear the Canadians, US, you put that logo on your chest, it means a whole different thing. I mean, I tried to pride myself on playing hard every single time I went out there, but man, when you look down and see that logo on your chest, it makes it even a little more important, I guess. And just try to get that point across to the guys, and you're setting the stage for the next guys coming up. And so, never forget that.
Right. One last question before I give off to the guys is, what still drives you to stay involved as much as you do?
It was nice. I had that little break there through the COVID, and, I got let go with the Bandits, and then COVID came like right after that. And then, was done with Six Nations for a little bit, had a couple years off, missed it, kind of recharged the batteries. And now, to be a part of a great team like this, like, I'd be crazy not to turn it down. Dewey called me up, 2 years ago, and, hey, we need a D coach. What do you think? I was like, oh, heck yeah, man. I seen your roster. I wouldn't mind being part of that. So, and then, once you get back into it and the batteries are recharged, it gets right back into you pretty quick. And, like you said, I go to the fan cups and go to the man cups when watch some junior games. It's got something lacrosse to do with it, and I'm not busy, I'm there. So it's one of those things where it's just, I don't know, it gets into you. Like you, Gary, look at all the stuff you do following that lacrosse ball around. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, if you try to explain it to a sane person, they never understand. So I don't try anymore.
Anybody that I work with, or they just shake their heads that I'm in one city one night, the next city the next night, the next city the next night, and go around in circles 7 days a week and on flights for weekends, and and
gladly do it all over again the next week, right?
I wouldn't know what to do with myself otherwise. Yeah, I couldn't any other way.
It bites you and you're infected, man. It don't go away.
Absolutely. Shawn, you got questions for Rich?
Yeah, I was going to ask. I believe you said Derek Keenan was kind of a guy who was kind of influential during your career, and obviously a guy we know quite well out here in Saskatchewan. I'm just curious, kind of, maybe what are some of the traits that you kind of looked up to when it came to someone like Derek?
Oh, people I looked up to?
More specifically, I believe you said Derek Keenan was one of those guys. So I'm just
because when we came in, right, me, Darius, JT, we were all like 21, 22. those guys were all in their mid-30s, and Kevin Alexander was a big one too. Like they showed you the right way to do stuff, and you know what I mean. These guys, again, there was no pro lacrosse for them growing up. They did the right way, you know, in these little dank arenas in the summertime. And then, you know, back in the day, there was this lacrosse magazine I remember I used to get all the time, and I'd see all their pictures and stuff in there, and then, you know, get to the bandits and I get to play with them, and then they were even better guys, you know what I mean, in the locker room. So it was great. Like I said, Kevin Alexander, Keenan, Bob Hamley was another one, Brian Hall. And those were the guys kind of on the early bandits that kind of showed us the way. Stewie Ayer, too, was another one that was, you know, well respected by the younger guys. So they just, you know, kind of, like I said, set the tone. And, you know, when you're young and cocky like we were, and then, you know, some of these guys that were older and probably a little smarter and better than us at that point, you know, they really kind of took us under their wing and showed us the ropes, and it helped me, you know, throughout my whole career. And now, you know, I'm trying to be that guy, or I was trying to be that guy when I was captain. And, you know, Keenan went on to be a really good coach also. So just trying to follow in the footsteps of you know, some greats that went before me.
No, perfect. Thanks. Thanks, Rich.
Mike, any questions?
Yeah. You know, with regard to, you know, the MSL team, you know, how quickly are you turning around and starting to plan for next year? I guess that could apply to even events with the Haudenosaunee, you know, leading up to the.
I mean, immediately. It was funny, even after we just won the Man Cup, and, you know, we're getting ready to go have a little fun at, you know, the hotel after, and Ryan was already talking about, well, you know, I won 7. What do you think we need to improve on for next year? And it's like, wow, already? Let's go have a beer for a minute. But you know what I mean? Same thing with the Haudenosaunee. After, you know, as a coach, you have to look and evaluate and see where you were weak and what you can do to improve that weakness. So it really is almost a 365 type of thing, because, you know, some days I'll just be sitting around on the couch minding my own business. Next thing I know, I'm an hour into thinking about how I could run a different defense or a man short or something. And I'm like, oh, man, like I said, I got bit and I'm infected, and it just doesn't go away. So it just, like I said, I every time I even talk to guys like you, and, you know, I love doing these interviews. It just makes me appreciate how lucky I got to be a lacrosse player when I was a lacrosse player and go through all this stuff. And just, like I said, I don't know what I would have done without lacrosse in my life all these years. You know, who knows? But like I said, I just appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys. You know, everyone who does anything to help promote the game. And, you know, we're all in the same boat together, and it's a fun boat to be on.
Awesome. If I can just ask a quick follow-up with the Haudenosaunee teams, you know, you mentioned kind of having a smaller pool, obviously, of players to choose from. How difficult has that selection process been for the various events?
It's really hard for us too, right? Because a lot of the reses are kind of far apart, and 6-7 hour drives for guys to go to a tryout. So we kind of do all that homework ahead of time. We have probably, you know, 30 guys we have in mind that we want to bring to camp. And then we, you know, probably got 15 or 16 pretty solid in there. And then we got to decide on that last 7 or 8. So it's just a little bit harder for us. Like I said, they can't really do a big camp or anything like Canada. I know they always take like a week or something and get together and do some stuff. I don't know if it's just a native thing. It's hard to get everyone together for the Haudenosaunee, it seems, at times. So, but once we get them there, they're a good group. And like you said, it's just, it is kind of a full-time thing. And like trying to develop, like you said, our weakness is always, you know, D or something along those lines. So try to, you know, get some development in the minor systems for them to get better at defense and all around players. But yeah, it's definitely a full-time job. I'm sure as soon as they lost to, you know, the last World Games, they were starting to think about the next one. And Canada and US probably does the same thing, but it's a full-time consuming job for sure.
Well, I would say, except for the Six Nations Arrows this summer, I think the Haudenosaunee had a pretty good showing with Kainanagi and of course Snake Island and the Six Nations Chiefs. That's 3 of the 4 major ones that you guys won. Yeah. So that's a pretty good showing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's you know, again, it's come full circle, right? Because I'm sure you know the history back in the 20s or whatever, they banned the natives from playing because they were kind of too good. So then they got kicked out of all the leagues, and, you know, now it took a while to come back from all that. And now, you know, we're here, and, you know, and knock on wood, you know, Ryan and some of these owners have, you know, treat the players really, really well. So it's fun to go play for, a native team, and especially when you got a great owner. Our owner's Ryan Burnham, and that guy everyone gets done first class. You'd think we're an NLL team, and the guy just always. If you've seen our bus, it's all tatted up in Chief stuff, and he just does everything first class. So, it's an honor to play for him and play for this organization. And like I said, I said it before, it's you better buy in, or you're going to get kicked off your seat real quick, and you will find. Believe me, there's a lot of people who want to come and play for Six Nations, and some of those guys who can give their players a little bit more than the normal. So, you better pull your weight, or it's going to be a short ride.
I find it hard to believe that anybody would have a tough time getting motivated. I just love walking the halls of the ILA, just looking at the pictures and looking at the history, let alone seeing everybody. But, to get up for the game, if you need help with that, then you are in the wrong place.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of the non-natives too, they you talk to them after or whatever you see in interviews, it was a special thing for them to go play on the res, because everyone knows the natives invented it, and you know what I mean? They, so it is a type of thing, you're kind of going to the home of lacrosse, I don't know, probably be playing a Yankee Stadium or something, you know what I mean? And pretty crazy too. The Chiefs have only been around since 92. So, I mean, they've done quite a lot in a short period of time, and it's pretty incredible. And like I said, the ILA, when was that built? That was probably only built in the early 90s also. And, that thing's seen Minnow Cups, Founders Cups, Man Cups. So it's a really special time now on the res with, the level that they're the bar they're setting for future generations. And I know Ryan, he just wants to set the bar higher and higher. So I'm pretty sure we're going to have a good team again next year and see if we can go for that. I don't think there's been a 4P. Well, no, Peterborough just did it.
Peterborough did it.
COVID, right? But I don't think there's been a true 4P in a while. So knock on wood, hopefully we can set our sights on that for next year.
Right. I also got to give credit, because, Ryan would talk about, but, you guys, I got Daryl Smart. We've got you. We've got Dewey. We've got John, of course, at the helm and steering the ship. And I think that has a big to do with how well the programs are going and how kids aspire to be part of this thing because of the examples that you all are setting. I think that's major.
Yeah, and you know what I mean? When you're in the middle of it, you're not thinking about setting, laying tracks down for the next guys. But, like you said, I think, like you said, Jay Dewey, again, there's another one who brings in all that talent. And like I said, he could go, make a bad choice, and, the bad apple can ruin the whole bunch. And Dewey does a great job of getting guys with character, and you know what I mean. They're leaders on their own teams, and guys who are going to come and buy in. And they haven't all been peaches over the years. There's been a couple that had to get chased off, but he does a great job of, like I said, finding the players. And then he's also a very smart guy in hiring JT, and they probably question him about me, but I'm still at the back of the bench, so I'll take it.
Well, John Gertler and I have always joked around and been calling them the Six Nation Bandits, but that's beside the point. But
no, they're the Buffalo Chiefs.
Buffalo Chiefs. Well, I call them the Buffalo Chaos too, right? But that's I had Chase the other day. Well, with Chase, I'd mentioned simply that when you get a bunch of guys who know how to win and you put them together, what are they going to do? They're going to win. And of course, we talked about the Chaos, and they won, and anything else that anybody's got on, right down to Chase playing on the Rochester Bats, and of course they won Laxney. So there you go. Winners.
Oh no, and that's what I mean. Yeah, and that we kind of had that same thing back in the day where we had that core of 6, 7, 8 guys that pretty much played summer and winter together. So, and like you said, you get to know each other, know each other's games, and you know what I mean? It just, the more you play together, the more you're going to know what you're going to be on the same page with the, 5, 6 guys that you play with year round. So it's, and again, they got a great core right now, and I hope their run lasts as long as possible.
I think it will, especially with Matt being healthier than most guys who are in their 20s. Crazy when you can get a goalie like that. It's insane. Plus having him there to teach, Konstantinopoulos and a few of the others that they've drafted along the way to be the next him. So I think that alone, having that leadership there on all parts, really.
Yeah, no, and like you said, it truly is just keeps getting passed down, right? Like I said, it was Keenan and those guys kind of showing us the way, and then we kind of showed some guys the way, and then we end up coaching, and I'm sure Priolo, and he's going to make a great coach someday. He's so involved in everything, and Dane and those guys are going to, they're showing the young 20-year-olds right now how to do it. And, those 20-year-olds, hopefully you're going to make it to their 30-something and show the next 20-year-olds. And, you get that good culture going and keep it going. It's hard to keep it going, but if you can keep it going with great, guys with great character, like I said, like Priolo again now, he's going to be the next one, to pass along that captainship to someone. And hopefully that guy is going to wear it for the next 10, 12 years. And, it just really gives you stability. And then it makes a place where people really want to play. You know what I mean? They see how well they're treated and the camaraderie the guys have. And then, it's contagious and other people would like to try and, get on that ship. So it's a great recruiting thing. And it's just, it's crazy how, like I said, when you're going through it, you don't think you're doing that, but you are doing it. So I'm glad I got to be a part of that whole thing for the past 30 years. And like I said, now Preet's going to pass it along to someone else and the circle of life shall continue.
Absolutely. One of the unsung guys on the band is actually Scott Loeffler, who doesn't take nearly enough credit for.
Oh, that guy does nothing. No, Scotty is a guy because, man, I think what it's like having a team of lacrosse players and heaven forbid the bus is 5 minutes late or something. Everyone's going to have a chirp for you. But Scotty knows his, he does a great job. He starting the school program and, just all the stuff they do off the floor also and to promote the game and the, junior bandits. And Scott does a great job right now with the Alumni Association. We just had our Alumni Bandit golf tournament on Saturday. And, what a great time that was. Some of the older guys mixed in with the young guys. And just like I said, building that culture. And it is true. Scott does a great job. And, he's still one of my favorites all time in lacrosse.
Right. Same thing with Chugger, because I had him on the show a couple of weeks ago. And, we were talking about, I can just put my feet up now and kind of let it go. That wasn't the case when he took over, because when he took over, it was a last place team and he had to rebuild with no first round picks. And, slowly you got Dane and then, of course, Josh and Chase. And as moved along, built this thing into the locomotive that it is now.
Yeah, and Chugger, he does a great job. And like you said, he when he came in, we're kind of on a down, swing there. And we were so close to winning the championship. We coughed up some first rounders, to try and get a championship. And the cupboards were bare there for a couple of years. But Chugger, I'm sure through his days at Kitchener, knew what to do in the draft. And he started, saving those draft picks and maybe getting rid of some of that older dead weight for, some other high draft picks. And he did a great job. And then, he did a great job of making the most out of those picks. You know what I mean? So Chugger is the architect. He finds, Scotty runs the whole show, but Chugger is the one who goes out and finds that talent and gives it to JT for JT to mold. And like I said, he's done a great job and he keeps doing it, right? They got a good young core right now. They got some good older vets, and that's what you always want. You want like a third young guys, a third older guys, and that third right in the middle there in their prime. So he does a great job of keeping everyone on their toes and being honest. And if, it's like I said with the Chiefs, if you don't buy in, have fun in somewhere else, because it's not going to be here if you can't buy in.
Absolutely. Rich, I want to thank you for taking the time out on a Sunday night to talk some lacrosse with us. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Oh, no, I told you, Gary, I love it. And Shawn, thanks. And Muffler Mike, always good talking to you guys. And it's Go Bills time now.
Yeah, you can catch the second half. I'm sure they're up by about 40 by now. they're the juggernaut. They're the next big thing in Buffalo.
Oh my God! Knock on wood.
Put them behind.
Please.
This is the crunch time year. Everything is aligned nicely.
Yeah, yep. Like I said, I've been a diehard Bills fan for a long time, and had the heart broken a lot there in the '90s. So hopefully, I think they got enough to maybe get it done. We'll see. But I am a Bills fan, so I'm not getting too overexcited about anything.
Realism takes over. Yeah, gotta give you that one. But again, I really appreciate you taking the time. We're talking to you real soon, and I look forward to seeing you at Bandits games coming up in a couple of weeks. I hope.
Yeah, fingers crossed. All right, no, thank you, Gary. Always love talking.
All right, take care, Rich.
All right, laters.
I was Rich Kilgour. What a fantastic guy. That's what the game is about. Never mind all this fighting about CBAs and all the other nonsense. That's what this game is about. That kind of heart, that kind of leadership, that kind of quality in being in the upper parts and teaching to lower people to how to get there and do it that way. That's
Absolutely.
what I've been on about for
Absolutely.
forever. But, you know, we talked about character. It's always about character, not characters. Character wins championships. Playing for the front of the jersey, not the back of the jersey. That's what wins championships. And, you know, through the Bandits and through that organization, you've seen it. Through Six Nations, and you've seen the same thing there. And it's no coincidence that they're the same people in both organizations. Yeah, that's what that's all about. You know, and if anybody else can figure that out, then maybe they can actually get that message across to the rest of the people. But character wins cups.
Yeah.
Grit helps too, but character wins cups. All right, so the news of this week, of course, is we still don't have any news about a CBA, which, of course, as Mike's thing there, T-minus 4 weeks to training camp. That's a headache and a half. Of course, if you've been on our page, you'd see that we put out the NLLPA had put out an awful long statement about all the things that aren't good with the proposal, and they put out all the things that are different, that they're going backwards in the green. And if you go onto our All Lacrosse page on Facebook, you'll be able to pull it up and be able to read each and every one of them. It's too small to read and it's too long to read. And I don't think you all want me to just read you like story time. But what I do have, and I want to thank Jake Elliott and Lacrosse Classified. They had Jamie Dawick on during the week. And we had an interview there. And Jake has given me the permission to play some of the clips from here. These are 3 separate clips of, basically Jamie Dawick on a rant about things. Now, remember, he's not in on the meetings, and he makes it perfectly clear just from what he's reading and going back and forth and trying to clarify some of the things on the owner's side, at least on his own personal side. So why don't we give this first clip a listen to, and then we'll come back and chat about it.
21. Listen, like the last week here on the show, John Arlotta, who I believe is part of the labor relations group, came on the program, and we had a little talk about the swarm, but also said that there was kind of good agreement, I believe was his quote, on a lot of things. But then I think it's you tell me, but it sounds like we're kind of at the point where I think a lot of things have been agreed on, but now the numbers are not quite working, and there needs to be some middle ground here on a number of things. So part of me is a little bit trepidatious here, Jamie. I will say, like, I'm a little bit worried that you're going to come on here and rock the boat that's kind of coming into shore a little bit. And I said off the top of the show that I have invited Reed and Zach to come on. They have not responded yet. Hopefully they do that next week, because I want to make sure I got the balance here. And I am just kind of the messenger, the vehicle to provide you an opportunity.
Yeah. Listen, man, it's just, you got to remember anything, I'm one guy. I'm one team. I'm one vote. I am one guy that's going to give it to you straight. I'm one guy that's been in that room for a lot longer than a lot of people. I've been in that room for 15 years. The stuff I hear these days, I heard 15 years ago. They heard it 10 years before me. All about the future and when this money starts coming in and this and that. I mean, there's just so many misconceptions. And I got players calling me from other teams constantly asking me for updates. Well, the reality is, like, we're like a week away from, in my opinion, and I haven't been on a call since the whole Albany debacle, but I see emails. I know what's going back and forth between the union and the owners. I mean, it's a misconception. No one really knows what's going on. And when you look at some hard facts, like, let me ask you a question. Would you be surprised if I told you I paid $750,000 a year US in league fees just to run the league?
That would surprise me, but I would believe you.
Well,
is that just you?
My team. So, like, this is the problem that everyone's got to understand with lacrosse. And I've done this for 15 years. I've put more money into the game of lacrosse in the last 15 years in the box game, I believe, than anyone, to grow the game and to make this big time. And I'm ready to do that. And yet we're fighting over little things with the players when I truly believe 90% of the players don't have any clue what's going on and don't the truth, factual, and don't realize they're maybe a week or two away from losing the season. And if the season goes, who knows if there's a next? Who knows what the future of the NLL will be? It's absolutely like our businesses right now are in hold. Like it's getting to the point where, and like I said, this is me speaking, but I'm getting to the point where it's like I'm almost done because I can't run my business. Listen, it's pretty simple, okay? Like it doesn't take any rocket scientist. But first of all, we're not the primary employer. This is a part-time job to these guys. These guys all have, or some of them have full-time jobs. So they treat us as we are their second job. So that to them, while we're operating businesses here, trying to grow this thing. So, I mean, it's mind-blowing to me. All I hear from players, the ones that are calling me, is I just want to play. It's like, well, don't talk to me. You got to talk to the powers that be on your side. But I'm telling you, man, I'm super. Hey, listen, I've been saying it for a long time, and I hope I'm wrong. And I, like I said, I haven't been on these calls, but I see all the stuff, man, and it's just my biggest fear is stuff's going to get canceled, and most of the players are going to be like, "Are you kidding me?" Like they don't even know this. And I don't know if they think we're lying. I don't know if they think people are bluffing. I don't know what they think. I don't deal with them personally. I would say the working relationship, from my opinion, the outside looking in, it's tougher to deal with. That's just me talking, though.
Well, there's a bombshell there. There's a few of them in there. Who would have thought that $250,000 or $750,000 to league fees? That's astounding.
Yeah, I just want to point out a couple of things before they slip my mind. First of all, him calling the relocation of Albany a debacle.
It is for Toronto. I brought that up last week.
Yeah. And I think he makes a great point in that for a lot of the players, this is secondary. But for
owners,
I'm not even thinking of owners. I'm thinking of the person, the person in the ticket sales office, the person in marketing, for all those people, it's probably a full-time gig.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Joe, at his little desk, in sales is trying to get you to buy season tickets, trying to get you to buy, a 3-game pack, trying to get, hey, how about a family deal for, the game against Calgary, they're working the phones and that's their full-time job. So just something to consider. And all that's part of the whole engine.
Well, like Jamie said, right? It may be a part-time or a secondary job for these players, but for him, this is a business.
Mm-hmm.
And
as it is with everyone in the
treat it as a business. Yeah, he has to run this as a business still.
Absolutely. Let's listen to part 2.
Outside of the lacrosse world, no one cares about lacrosse, and we're trying to get them to care about it. But, it hasn't happened in my 15 years. It's not imminent. The number of lacrosse fans isn't anywhere near significant enough to drive any sort of TV revenue. There's no money there. So there's no significant income. And yet we're running a coast to coast 2-country league. And it's a $15 million operating budget with pretty well zero income to it. And that's just to run the league. Let alone, so we all chop that up, and then we turn around and get absolute, and then really the only thing to income for your team is tickets. If there's no TV, significant TV revenue, there's no significant revenue. Ticket sales, sponsorships doesn't come anywhere near close to the $6 million budget.
Where is the corporate sponsorship for TV, Jamie?
Dude,
where is
there's
that?
Listen, the numbers aren't there. Like while we're all lacrosse people and we live and sleep and breathe it and whatever, they're not there yet. And until they're there, there's no money that comes with it. You can't, like that's what people don't like. No one understands. The numbers are insignificant. 20,000, the 50,000, 70,000. These aren't. While they might be big numbers to the people in the lacrosse communities. We think those are big numbers.
The Minto did more.
It's just insignificant. You need to be doing hundreds of thousands of viewers, and there aren't hundreds and thousands of viewers. Like, listen, our league. Don't get me wrong, man. I want to play more than ever, but like, I'm also ready to go to Florida in a week for 6 months. Like our league, Toronto at Buffalo in Banditland, which we're not doing this year, and that's a whole other story. I would say that sporting event is as good of a sporting event in the world, and I'd put it up against that as far as an entertainment value. But for some reason, we haven't been able to get that yet out to the masses where we start getting hundreds of thousands of viewers. With hundreds of thousands of viewers, turns in TV, or not TV, streaming revenue. And that's the only significant revenue that's going to change the economics of this league and save this league, really. Without it, you basically have every team individually losing a ton of money. And when you're losing a ton of money, for all of us, it's for different periods of time. But for me personally, for 15 years, when it's like you've been questioning all this stuff, for me personally, I get the sucker punch with Albany, and then I'm fighting over little things that my conversations with the players I know, and I know a lot of them, they can't believe that these are the things that are slowing this down. No one's asking these guys to take a pay cut. If we didn't pay the players a penny, I'd still lose a lot of money this year. So I think really in the current state, the players are lucky we still, this is still going, and they get paid a good penny to play, which is a part-time thing for them. And, if they don't like it and they don't want to play, they can choose not to do that. It's imminent. Like you'll know within a week or two, in my opinion, whether we're going to have a season.
Because we're talking about like take a place like Calgary with a brand new visas, a brand new building coming in with arena dates. Dude, and if they can go in there and make $500,000 on a concert, and they're holding the date for a Roughnecks game, like,
you know what the problem is? And if we don't play, then all they see all the good on the not doing it, and that's why you worry about the future of the league. So
a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that we wouldn't be normally thinking about that make a whole lot of sense. And again, it comes down to part-time player. Don't need it. Don't have to. I can get somebody else. We aren't, like I said off air to Shawn, we aren't at the point like the NHL where you're an Ovechkin and the team can't do anything without you, or a Crosby or a Lemieux or a Gretzky. We're not there.
Yeah, there's a few things that jumped out on me too. He mentioned, about, no one kind of outside lacrosse really cares, but we're trying to, grow that. Again, how many times have we said it? The lacrosse getting in lacrosse's way.
Yep.
and we're seeing it time and time and time again, and there's going to be no growth if that continues to happen. The other thing is, and I know Gary, we talked about this off camera as well. Jamie mentioned about the arena dates. They're not going to hold those forever, right? At some point, they're going to say we're just going to lose revenue because it's not going to happen, and we're going to open it up again to something that's going to actually bring in money for the arena.
Well, Jamie made an interesting point also, and this is one that's is about staying power of the league. Is once the arenas see that they can make more money with a concert than they can by having 5 Roughneck games, why are they even having the Roughnecks in this arena?
Yeah.
Then where do they play? Then we don't have places to play. We don't have a league. It's that simple. Everything kind of snowballs. Do not upset the apple cart to the point that it demolishes itself. And we are on that point now, very shaky ground if you leave all these things open. Rich brought it up too. Every time we have one of these stoppages, we lose a team or two. We almost lost 3 in the off season. We did lose 1 before. We're going to see Philadelphia move most likely next year. We were able to save these things, even though, again, Jamie brought up the gut punch of Albany going to Oshawa. And for those who are not playing at home, that just simply means that they are in the realm of the Toronto Rock fan base now, which means that fan base already is getting chewed by being close to Buffalo in Hamilton. Now it's being nickel and dime with all of the east of Toronto going to Oshawa, of people that would be going to Rock games. So he's getting hit on both sides. So his fan base is depleting already. And now you have all these other factors in there, let alone the fees having to be paid to the league just for running the league, that they all split up all the owners. Again, another thing that nobody seems to take into account. You're not paying just for your own team and your own staff, but you've got to put your money in so that the league has their fees and their staff and their people to do everything together. So it's kind of like a franchise fee that keeps coming year in and year out.
Yeah.
Just to keep it running.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of outside factors. It's it's easy to say, I want this and I want that, and we think you're making this, so we want this. Well, nobody's really heard about the numbers. Here's the first thing, and the numbers make sense because he's getting so wrapped up. He's having trouble. I don't ever know Jamie tongue-tied. And he can't, get the words out fast enough about what he's talking about. You can hear the passion in his voice, too. He doesn't want to give up, but he'll be happily go on a plane for 6 months to Florida and just say, just let me know. And the number I heard was October 10th, which is merely 5 days away from when we start canceling things and start postponing things. Thought these schedules were silly. Wait till you see them with the scheduled back end now, if they do it at all.
Yeah.
And somebody needs to explain to me why there's no Toronto Buffalo game in Banditland. That's a 19,000 for sure, guarantee.
Yeah, that's
Why wouldn't
printing
you take
money.
advantage of that?
That's like printing money doing something like
Yes.
that.
Yes. All right, we got one more little clip to get onto. So
that it goes out to people, and it's just like, it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
So I'm just going to say, it's like part of the biggest challenge with the National Lacrosse League, the fact that we have 14 different owners with 14 different financial situations.
No, it's not that at all. That doesn't affect it, because that's not what it is. Like there's guys don't become billionaires and this and that because they're losing money all the time. And
Page and agree, Jamie. Agree on everything.
By Russ Klein and Mike French and these guys, 4 teams in a combined little area with local players. And it's just evolved over the years into the sense that, it's coast to coast and you're flying commercially and this and that. Like when I joined the league, it would cost about $3 million to run a team for a year 15 years ago. Today, that's $6 million. My revenue, ticket sales, and sponsorship for the Toronto Rock has basically been flatlined for 15 years with a million different approaches, a million different this, that. So while my revenue, and it wasn't good enough 15 years ago. So while your ticket sales revenue and sponsorship number didn't cover the cost back then, and the cost to run a team is basically doubled in those 15 years. Like when we were paying $500 a flight, now you're paying $1,000 a flight. Plus you're paying for baggage. I mean, it's just the business model does not work unless a TV deal comes. And if a TV deal doesn't come, to me, the business model doesn't work. And I mean, is there
somebody working on that, Jamie? Like as far as
listen, that's not a question. Listen. Honestly, I'm gonna.
Well, I just wonder about the sponsorship thing.
I'm not your guy. I can't be your guy. Like I don't have that information. I'm not talking to anyone right now. I'm not happy with the league, personally, for lots of reasons, which I've stated a bunch of times here. Like I'm just focused on the Toronto Rock. But like I can't run my business. I can't order things. I can't do this. I have a new arena opening.
Booking
I need
flights.
to know. I want to know. Are we playing this year or not? Like I want to play, but if we're not playing, tell me today so I can just shut all that stuff down. And, maybe you and I do a disc golf podcast and we'll check me out in a year. Like we'll see you next summer,
That's frightening. That's frightening how close we are to that.
Yeah. And just to piggyback on your statement about having to possibly reschedule games that get canceled early in the season. Just ran through the schedule. The last 10 weeks, there's total for the whole regular season, 126 games. The last 10 weeks of the season, 67 games versus the first 11 weeks of the season, 59 games. So you talk about backloading and the trouble they're going to have rescheduling. Yeah.
Yeah, we might have a
week 14. Week 14, there are 10 games on the schedule. 10. And I think in the time that we've been doing this podcast, we've never seen a weekend with 10 games.
No. Yeah, we still have all these bye weeks,
which doesn't make any sense because of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There should be no reason for 10 games to be in one weekend when we have, if we take a look at some of the early weeks where we have 2 games in week 2. It just shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping against hope that in the next 5 days, somewhere along the line, because, I thought at one point we were close. Doesn't sound like we're very close. And the paperwork there shows that we're not very close.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's from lack of trying on one side.
That 10-game weekend, that means 6 teams have doubleheaders that weekend alone. Yeah. 6 out of 14.
How does that happen?
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, week 2, we have 2 games?
That's what I'm saying. How does that happen?
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing that I took away from that clip, when Jamie was talking about, the business model doesn't work without a TV deal, I thought that was a great question that was asked, and it really needs to be asked of the league more than Jamie. Is somebody working on that? Because if someone's not working on that, what are we doing?
What is the main thing to keep this thing afloat?
Yeah,
that should be priority 1 from the league, not this outbox whatever, NLL boxed out or whatever we call it, and the rest of this, and putting it in all these places that are nobody knows. We need to worry about the places that we know, that have teams, that have owners, that have players that want to be paid, and all the rest of it. This thing is a business. We need to get it first and foremost going before the unbox program and the rest of the things come in, which is all nice fringe stuff and look great while everything was rolling along. Now that we have this collective bargaining and everything is coming to light, it's time to really get ourselves in order. And I don't know, maybe they have to trim down to 8 teams again.
Yeah.
And see where they go. 8 stable teams is better than 14 teams that are on the cusp.
Yeah, and we talked about, arenas having to hold dates and stuff like that. How about ESPN and TSN having to hold time slots?
Yeah, and at some point they're just going to say, you know what?
Yeah,
I'm out. Like,
they say, oh,
we just can't keep doing this. Like,
We did that once already.
Let's broadcast disc golf instead.
See, we did that once already, and we lost it, and we got it back finally. And
Cornhole
we
tournaments.
Yeah, darts.
Yep.
We're gonna sing songs too. It's multifunctional, but yeah. So let's hope that saner minds will come together and even temporarily make it a one. We've said it forever. Make it a 1 year thing where you're talking throughout the year, and you guys can build off of something. But in the meanwhile, I don't think a stoppage is going to help anything. I think it's going to kill it. It very well might kill the league. And, I've been the one telling people that, the sky is falling when you hear stuff like that. But I'm starting to believe it now. Hearing stuff like what I just heard from Jamie, seeing stuff from what I see from the players' side, maybe.
It's a little scary, too, going back to that first clip where Jamie's saying he's getting phone calls from players because they don't know what's going on.
Right, and they just want to play, most of them. So where is these
Should
numbers?
there be some communication between the PA and the players to tell them what's going on?
Well, in their defense, the union's job is to get the best deal possible for the players, but not at killing the thing that is there, right? The one thing I always hated about unions, and this goes with any union, and I apologize if you're a union diehard, is that when you're on strike, the guy who's negotiating is getting paid while I'm standing outside with a sign. I'm not big on that. So just food for thought. I need everybody to get it together, and I need things to be part and parcel, because we need a season and 4 weeks of training camp where we haven't had free agency yet. In that clip, and you can catch it on Spotify on Lacrosse Classified if you want to watch or listen to the entire show. This starts around the 8-minute mark of the show, and Jamie goes for about 20-25 minutes. So I just took a few of the key points from it for us to listen to. But Lacrosse Classified on Spotify with Jake Elliott. And appreciate Jake. Thank you very much for allowing us to use the clips. Always a pleasure. But that being said, we will have all the news as it happens, good or bad, up to the minute. And all of us will be on it and on with our connections and everything else to get as quickly as possible the news out to you. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Thread. You can find us on YouTube. Plenty of places to try and catch it and get it. You can also get us at www.streampunkentertainment.com to get all of the news up to the minute, up to date. Please visit us 3, 4, 5 times. As again, the news is always changing. We have our thumbs and our fingers on the pulse of the situation at every single time, accurately. That brings us to final words for tonight. Shawn, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, just from everything we've just been kind of discussing, this is just discouraging. It's just very, very discouraging. And like you said, hopefully, cooler heads can prevail and we can just move on and we can get a season in.
Absolutely. Mike, last words to you.
Same thing. And, for anyone listening, to think about the bigger picture and all we just discussed, from just the players themselves, to the ownership, to the league, to all the other behind the scenes people that you don't think about, but who are working to make it happen, to make game day happen.
Yeah.
Whether it's through a broadcast or in person.
Absolutely.
Because it affects a lot more than just the players or just the owners.
I am steadfast with that idea myself of to get at least a 1-year working agreement that they can visit it throughout the year whilst they are playing and get a better deal or a worse deal or be transparent or whatever everybody is talking about, but that we don't lose the season. I am worried beyond worry about losing the season and what it will do to the league in general, whether it's amount of teams or the league altogether. And I see so much positive, and I've watched so many great forward steps that we've taken. I would hate to see that all come tumbling down like a house of cards, which I thought that we had a foundation built that this doesn't happen. So let's hope. Let's just hope that we are able to get cooler heads before the 10th, before we start seeing things canceled. Because once things start canceling or being postponed, then we're on a slippery slope. But again, we will be here for everything, messy or clean, for everybody. That'll wrap it up for this week. Just a reminder, we are here every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Please come back, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your coworkers, tell the people you don't even know to come check us out. You will not be sorry. And we very, very happily give you everything that we possibly can. It is our privilege to give you everything that we can possibly give you up to date and on time. Guys, thank you very much, as always, for being such a strong team. I appreciate it. Until next week, remember, keep your sticks high, keep your spirits higher. Hopefully we have a CBA to talk about during the week. And until next week, have a great week, everybody.